It sits in a deceptively serene valley on the west edge of Nashville. But the view from inside Riverbend Maximum Security Institution, Tennessee's highest security prison, is decidedly different.
It's the closest I've been to outside in a long time. We don't normally get this close to the fence.
Joe Collins has been an inmate at Riverbend for 5 years. He has another dozen to serve. He says there's one key fact about his fellow inmates that outsiders forget.
Eventually, most of us are going to get out. Most of us are going to be on the street, and some of us are going to be your next door neighbors.
Almost 700 inmates are housed at Riverbend Prison. Of those, about half are maximum security and 88 are on death row. For the 97% who will be released, the outlook is grim, says Riverbend Warden Ricky Bell.
Over 70% of prisoners will return.
Enter Jerry Nail, a member of Christ United Methodist Church in Franklin, Tennessee, and a man in search of a mission. Until he heard about a prison Bible study class being taught in a neighboring state, and everything fell into place.
Although I don't even know how to spell incarcerated, I knew that that's where I was to take the 5 years I just finished in Disciple Bible Study and put it to work.
With the blessing of Pastor Tom Gildemeister and the help of fellow parishioner Harry Boyko, the men approached the Riverbend chaplain with their idea for a prison ministry. But getting inside proved more difficult than anticipated.
Some of my men laugh. They say it's very easy to get in prison. Just get a gun and hold up a map and that'll get you in prison. We laugh about that now.
In the end, the two men's persistence won over the chaplain.
And they said, come on. And that was 7 years ago.
Today, the Christ United Methodist Prison Ministry Program works both inside and outside the prison.
God calls us out of our separateness into this kind of a community.
Inside, the group sponsors a Sunday prison service that incorporates rotating ministers from various churches.
Father, encourage us with your presence.
Weekly religious and Bible study groups are also held, taught by parishioners Bob Ratcliffe and John Slaughter.
How'd y'all do this week in the Hebrews?
My whole perception of what I thought would be and what really was, these guys are just like you and I, and they're full of God's love.
Slaughter remembers how one grateful inmate wrote about his class experience.
It says, when I was on the outside, my body was free, but my soul was incarcerated. It says, now that I'm in here and I found Jesus as my Savior, my body's incarcerated, but my soul is free.
Nevertheless, teacher Bob Ratcliffe admits he was apprehensive at first.
But once I got back there with the guys, once we were talking about the Bible and sharing with one another, that really falls away. You start to feel comfortable quite quickly.
The Pen Pal program has become one of the ministry's most successful endeavors. It was initiated by inmate and core prison ministry member Joe Collins. He says most inmates are desperate for outside contact.
I talked to a guy that hadn't had a visit in over 16 years. Now he gets regular cards, and his pen pal and her husband come out every few months and visit him. His quality life has gone through the roof.
Collins has his own pen pal too, parishioner and program partner Judy Carlisle.
Dear Judy, thank you for keeping me up on everything. It means a lot to me. I've been locked up since May of 2003, and as of yet,
I've not had a visit.
Carlisle's job is to gather volunteer writers from within the church.
For me, one of the most compelling things is the reality of who's in prison. Most of them are people who have never had a chance to begin with.
The letters arrive at the church, where they can be picked up or forwarded to the pen pal's home. After only a brief exchange, volunteer Dennis Rogers attended a Sunday prison service to meet his pen pal, Bill Pelfrey.
It was really neat to just walk up to this man and just get a hug and a handshake by a simple man who was just like me.
Pelfrey has been locked up for 27 years. Until Dennis Rogers, he had never had a visitor.
Most of us don't like ourselves. We need someone to instill some kind of love in us, something, give us some hope.
It's a spectacular spring day outside the Christ United Methodist Church in Franklin. Even more so for ex-Riverbend inmate Marcus Hamilton. As of today, he is a free man.
I've been incarcerated for 17 years.
Hamilton was a youth of 17 when he was locked up. Today, he is a man of 35, and his friends at the prison ministry are supplying him with donated clothes.
Do you think that'll fit you?
It's not easy, he says, to start your life from scratch, especially after a 17-year absence.
It's just so many things that you have to do that normal, everyday people already have, like a driver's license, ID, insurance, finding themselves a job.
Warden Ricky Bell says newly released inmates like Hamilton face a daunting battle. After what may be decades behind bars, they are handed a minimal amount of cash.
Get about $35.
Then set free.
They were on the street. I mean, unless they had family support, inmates just didn't have any help at all.
Program founders Nail and Boyko agreed and decided to extend their efforts beyond the prison walls. Today, the reentry program is an essential part of the prison ministry, and it starts with money.
The church, our church, has set aside a certain amount of money, approximately $1,000 per man. We also have worked with a couple of employment agencies to get them a job. We've made arrangements where we can get them a car at no interest.
Still, of all the challenges ex-inmates face, finding legitimate employment can be the toughest, says Warden Bell.
Once people in the community find out that they're, an ex-felon, they're kind of hesitant to want to hire them.
But Nail says without employment and a community to offer support and guidance on the outside, these ex-inmates will end up right back in prison. So he and Boyko push on from within the prison walls and without.
As a Christian, my attitude has always been that we're in the restoring business, not in the retribution, not in the judgment business. That's left up to God. Let Him judge.
Prison ministry volunteers stress it's not just inmates who benefit from the program, like the newly divorced Dennis Rogers.
I was sort of in a pity party when I started the letter, but I realized how this man would give anything he had to be doing what I was doing and be free.
In fact, over a dozen ex-inmates have joined Franklin's Christ United Methodist congregation. Pastor Gildemeister says welcoming these men into his church is the natural culmination of the prison ministry.
When you start a ministry with a controversial community like prisoners, you're always going to run into some problems. And I think that one of the problems is addressed immediately when we start introducing these inmates and these prisoners and these criminals as human beings who have first names, who have families. And that breaks down so many barriers all by itself. But let's be honest about it. If anyone is not welcome in the church, where are they welcome?